Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brett Allen. I'm with the Nevada Department of Agriculture. I've been with the Department of Agriculture in pesticide regulatory and compliance and education since 2013. So I'm going to talk today about pesticide storage, disposal, and recycling. And if anything, take away from today's talk, it's definitely reach out, right? We're the friendly NDA. So I'll talk about our recycling and our disposal programs, but these are free for the public, for industry, for ranchers, farmers, growers. So just always reach out. One time, a few years back, we had a grower out by Ruby Valley who had several barrels of 2,4-D on his property, and he was just nervous about reaching out to a government agency with his issue. So I just definitely don't want that to be the case. So what we were able to do in that instance was head out to his place, and myself plus Clean Harbors Environmental and safely remove those barrels, so at no cost to the rancher. So there's fear there or hesitation, that's something we'll definitely want to get rid of, and reach out if you have those same issues or questions on disposal, safe disposal, and recycling. So of course I'm going to go over a couple things today, just kind of some basics. I'm assuming that maybe there's some individuals on the talk who don't use pesticides or just starting to, or maybe they've been using them for a long time, but there are a couple little basics that I'll cover too before going into the storage, disposal, and recycling. Okay, so I like to put this slide up there whenever I'm talking about our program or different activities that we do here at the department. I like to go over our goals of our environmental services branch. So these are important to let you guys know what we strive to do, and also it's a good reminder for myself, right? If I'm reading these out loud, I need to adhere to these goals. And the first one is to protect human health and the environment from the adverse effects of pests and pesticides. The second one is to assure that pesticides remain available as a valuable tool in an integrated approach to pest management. So I know that's a whole nother talk in itself, but there's so many different ways to combat our pest problems, and pesticides are definitely a valuable tool. We want to make sure they're available for growers and industry and homeowners. And the third one is to promote professionalism within industry. So I don't want to assume everybody knows what a pesticide is, so I wanted to include this slide. And it's any substance or mixture of substances intended to prevent, destroy, repel, or mitigate any pest, using it as a plant growth regulator, defoliant, or desiccant. So sometimes my staff and I were responsible for doing marketplace inspections to make sure that retails they do not have expired, old, or canceled pesticide products on their shelf for sale. So we would go into these marketplaces and conduct inspections, and they would sometimes I would say, I'm with the Department of Agriculture here to do a routine inspection regarding the pesticides, and they might just take me to like their can of Raid only, right? So then I inform them that it's an umbrella term. It includes rodenticides, weed killers, insecticides, and all that stuff. So and then of course that claim, if any such product makes that claim, which we see in the definition, prevent, destroy, repel, then that's considered, if it's making that pesticidal claim, then it's a pesticide, and it has to be registered with the Department of Agriculture and the United States Environmental Protection Agency. So there's two different classifications of pesticides. There's general use products that can be purchased in Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, True Value, Marketplace. Anyone can purchase these products. Records are not required, although it's a good idea. And one of the definitions, they're less likely to cause harm to humans and the environment if used according to the label instructions. And then there's more hazardous classification called restricted use. Strychnine is one of these. It's a rodenticide used by ranchers and farmers to combat their gopher, pocket gopher and ground squirrel problems. That is a restricted use pesticide. So may cause human injury or environmental damage unless applied by a certified applicator. And we provide study material. We work with our cooperative extension to get individuals certified, get them studied, and we administer exams too, so individuals can use these products. Now, restricted use pesticides have to be purchased at licensed dealerships, and then records are required by the applicator. So we don't want to can't just use the product and then walk away from it. You have to document the time, the date, location where you applied the product, temperature, the wind, and stuff like that. And so we work with applicators to make sure they're keeping the required record keeping components. Okay, of course, we got to talk about the pesticide label. It's a legal document. It's a federal law. It's a written, printed graphic matter on or attached to the pesticide container, device, or wrapper. So that's it. It's federal law, required to follow directions. If you're like me, you get something in the mail or something like a ceiling fan. The first thing you want to do is get rid of the directions, but not with pesticide labels. You have to follow those precisely. I know that you get fairly wordy. Definitely some pesticides come with booklet labels, but we're, again, I mentioned friendly NDA, so we're definitely here to help interpret these labels and go over dilution rates or and other environmental hazards or directions for use, whatever the case may be that applicators need assistance with. So we could definitely help navigate an individual through a pesticide label. Okay, this is just one example. I just kind of pulled one up, and I want to include this too because I'm talking about storage and disposal, and those requirements are going to be found on the label. Of course, we always resort back to the label. That's the those clear-cut instructions on how to properly dispose, recycle, or store a product is going to be right on the pesticide label. It's usually on the back side of the label, or at the end of the booklet, something like that. So this is just a product that we see a lot during inspections, used by our pest control industry companies like Terminex and Orkin. So they use this product a lot. So we'll go to the next slide. So that's why I wanted to show this. We have storage and disposal right there on the pesticide label. So it'll inform the applicator, detailed directions on how to properly store and dispose of this product. So I do have another label here coming up, but pesticides are either liquids. They come in little pouches that could be a solid or a pellet or a tablet, granule. So all different kinds of different forms of solid or a liquid. Plus they do different things. So you can have something a little more simpler like this product where it's a liquid, where the product needs to be where the container needs to be triple rinsed. And then you kind of want to stay away from that activity if you're dealing with a product, for instance, like Weevil Side, where it's a tablet and it releases aluminum or phosphine gas if it's mixed with water. So definitely want to dive into these instructions and make sure they're being followed when storing and disposing. So anything that stands out here, we can see on the label. I wish I blew this up a little bit bigger. Basically, it gives you a contact number. This states, a lot of labels state to call Chemtrek for transportation and spills. It gives you information on how to contain a spill. I have a few slides about spills. And then it usually cannot find it on here right now, but it usually says contact your local Department of Agriculture or extension agency for disposal. And again, we have that service here at the department, which I'm really, really thankful of because we're accruing more pesticide waste than ever for proper disposal. Okay, here is, I talked about Weevil Side. Few people on the meeting here today might be familiar with this. Again, it's aluminum phosphide, or it's a phosphine gas that it releases when it reacts to moisture in the atmosphere. So it's very important that disposal and storage instructions are being followed, because you have to very special directions when it comes to doing that with this type of product. You don't want to get it wet. You don't want to mix it with liquids. You want to keep it separate, keep it dry in a cooled area. And all those things are listed here under the Applicators Manual, which we're looking at. Okay, so I wanted to point out a couple things on the Applicators Manual and Label. The Applicators Manual is what accompanies the label with this particular product. And so we see disposal of aluminum flasks. So empty flask, we could take flasks. They come in metal, small containers. If they're empty, we can take those. You are permitted, once they're triple rinsed or cleaned out and punctured, an applicator is permitted to throw them away into a landfill. That is permitted as long as all the product is out of the container. And directions for disposal and residual dust. Again, we've taken entire flasks full of this product where someone ran into it in their garage, maybe from it's just been stored for quite a while, and then it's typically a dangerous product, and we can definitely take that off their hands. So, and what's required too, it's stated in the label. I'm not seeing it on this page, but it's a Department of Transportation special use permit to transport this particular product. So those are kind of big words, right? A DOT permit, special use permit, and want to be careful what we're dealing with. We want to, again, I can't stress it enough, but dive into the label to follow, make sure we're following those directions. Okay. Since I've been here at the department, I've conducted a lot of routine inspections, and I've looked into a lot of complaint investigations that involve, pesticides, of course, possible misuse or improper storage. So I have a couple of pictures coming up too of really good, storage examples. So you always want to keep pesticides away from food, feed, or fertilizer, of course. You want to keep it in the original labeled container, away from wells and other water sources, and you want to keep it in a facility with no floor drains. Another thing too here is you want to make sure the facility could be locked, and then a pesticide storage sign can be placed, placard on the door where individuals can see it if they were to walk in. So that third bullet is really important. We also have a groundwater monitoring program here at the department. So we want to make sure that they're being stored away from wells or their water sources. The fourth one, especially too, the floor drains. Because a facility, if it has a floor drain, it's designed for everything to be funneled toward that drain and to leak out either into storm drain or just outside a particular building. And so we want to avoid that, because some products, for instance, Crovar, maybe some of you on here are familiar with that product. It has 2 active ingredients that leach down through soil, and they can possibly contaminate groundwater. So some chemicals, they bind to soil, like glyphosate, or some products will leach down through soil and contaminate groundwater. So those are a few of the things for safe storage of pesticides. And going back to this picture, I like the cabinets. I've seen those a lot. You can lock them up. You can put signs on the outside of it. Of course, there's no drains. There's no holes on the bottom of those storage cabinets. They're pretty well sealed. The problem I see with the picture on the left is, I don't know, maybe an earthquake or something like that can occur. Maybe there could be a mid strap in the middle of each shelf to make sure, hopefully some of those products don't fall off the shelf, especially if they're stored up high like that. Probably want to keep them down low. Little dark. This photo is a little dark, but this is a really good example of what a farm out in Winnemucca did with their pesticide storage area. They raised the footings on the outside perimeter of storage shed. So the entire storage shed is a secondary containment. And just in case, for instance, every single product they had in there leaked, it would contain all of those pesticides, which I think we see here. Excuse me. So it's a pretty big shed. Again, they raise those footings around the outside perimeter. So in case something weird happened and every single one of those products leaked, that facility is sufficient enough to withstand and become a secondary container for that. So this is a really good example of a really good pesticide storage area. I see, some of these are stacked up a little too high. Probably be best if some of those were down lower, that way they don't tip over. Okay. We'll go over some spills, right? I just wanted to include this. I know we're talking about disposal, storage, and recycling, but this happened to me while working at the department. I was doing a waste disposal program and near Yerington. I was working with a grower, and he had a bunch of old products in his truck, and I was transporting to Reno, but I was placing all the products into my vehicle. And I lifted one 2.5 gallon jug of Velpar, and the bottom just blew out. It was an old polyethylene bottle that just had been weathered and sitting in the storage for too long. So the bottom, just blew out. So fortunately, I had been with the department for a little bit, so I knew about, the 3 C's we see here: control the situation, contain the spill, and clean up the spill. So number one is control the situation, is to stop it from spreading too far. I had a spill kit with me, so I was able to put absorbent material on there right away. I was able to contain it, and then it took me about 4 hours to clean it up. And what I did, it was on a sidewalk, an impervious surface. So I put absorbent material down, let that soak up, and then I swept that all up and put it into garbage bags, which I took later to our pesticide waste disposal program. Some people ask, hey, what'd you do with the bags? The absorbent material that's been contaminated. That's a good question. We can properly dispose of that just as it were waste. And then scrubbed the sidewalk and the street with bleach and dish soap. And then I put more absorbent material on top of that, let it soak up, and then I scooped that up into trash bags. So it took me quite a while, but I don't know. I was really scared that I had to go through that, but I'm glad I was prepared. I had the tools, and I had the spill kit, and I had all the soap, the cleaning equipment with me. So I was able to, control, contain, and clean up. So, and then I, of course, share that experience with pesticide applicators and homeowners and industry. So happened to me, but I was glad I was prepared. Because one thing, if we're preaching this, if we're telling people to be prepared and have spill kits, then we need to do the same thing. And I was glad we did. Okay, pesticide spills. Should an accidental spill occur, it did to me and some other people that I've seen during inspections, follow the appropriate steps to clean up the spilled pesticide safely. So during inspection, inspecting an applicator, and it happened to that individual, his reel broke, and there was a leak, so it started spraying pesticides everywhere. So he quickly shut it off. He had the tools to fix the leak. He had a spill kit to clean it up. And he was nervous that he was going to get written up or something, especially that I was there watching him. But I applauded him for acting quickly, being prepared, having the tools and the spill kit, and cleaning everything up. So I thought that was, that's a good example. These things are going to happen. We just do our best to be prepared. We talked a little bit about secondary containment. For our waste disposal program, we have a lot of these tubs. These black tubs here that we put products in, just in case it's been stored for a long time, and the polyethylene or the plastic containers that these products are that they come in case they get weathered and crack and leak, they're inside of these secondary containers. And then I think I covered everything. Broken hose on the tank, closed valve or temporarily patch. Yeah, that's sort of what that individual did while I was inspecting him. He was able to shut everything off. He had a valve that he temporarily closed and fixed. So then he was back at it. Okay, this is an example of a spill kit. So this is just going over some methods to contain. Definitely don't want to spread into water sources. Was near your sidewalk area, so it was starting to go down the gutter to a storm drain, but I was able to stop it before it got that close to the storm drain. So that's why it's important to control situation, contain it, stop that, the movement of the pesticides. Don't want it to go and contaminate water supplies. And again, looks like that's what this individual is doing on the slide here. He has absorbent material, contaminated material that he picked up, and he was able to put into those 55-gallon jug barrels. Or sawdust. Kitty litter works too, to have that stuff on board with us in our service vehicles or whatever we're using. Okay. Again, so yeah, definitely just reach out. You'll have my contact information at the end here, but we cooperate with Ag Container Recycling Council, ACRC. Whoops, I have the wrong acronym there. It's ACRC and Interstate Ag Plastics. So we work with them, and they come to Nevada once or twice a year. We have some collection sites around Nevada, one in Winnemucca, Yerington, here in Sparks at our office. So a couple other places throughout Nevada. And an individual from Interstate Ag Plastics, he comes. What happens at those collection sites is the empty, cleaned containers are stored. Some places hold up to about 10,000 pounds worth at a time. And then Interstate Ag comes to Nevada, and they have a huge semi truck with a tractor trailer and a flatbed, a chipper and a forklift, and they chip the containers into small little plastic, and then that material gets recycled into other pesticide containers, or some of the other things that they make with those, the plastic shreds are hard plastic pallets, or those hard plastic kind of speed bumps that we see in some places. So some of these, this is a really good program. So again, free for homeowner, industry, growers to participate in this. We could even supply, we have huge thick plastic bags that hold about 20 to 25 2.5 gallon jugs. Once they're triple rinsed, caps and labels are off, we can provide you guys bags. You can put them in those bags, and we can coordinate a time so they could be picked up or dropped off at one of our collection sites. This is an example of one of them in Yerington. This used to be the old Stanislaus Farm Supply. This is about 15,000 pounds worth of 2.5 gallon jugs that are cleaned out. So this is the picture. I love it. This is why so glad this program exists. If these were not collected, chipped, and recycled, these are either end up in landfills. A lot of growers, unfortunately, they'll burn these containers. So we want to make it easy and free for the user too. So those are the huge bags that we supply. We can get you those too. So this is a really good program. I'm so glad that this is growing as well. So that's a lot of containers right there too, that could have either been burned or thrown in the taking up space in landfill again. So that's a really good one. They came and shipped all these. It took about a day, and they were able to take them off for recycling. So the type of material that we take for recycling is high density polyethylene, HDPE, 55 gallons and smaller. So this is the norm here, like the 2.5 gallon jugs. If there is a 55 gallon barrel for recycling, it just needs to be cut in force. And so just sawzall down the middle, horizontally and vertically, and then it's in force, and then we can our contractor can ship that material easily. Okay, so containers that held EPA registered pesticides labeled for agricultural, industrial, vegetation management, turf, nursery, and aquatic use. So any pesticide container, HDPE, 55 and smaller. And then we have our pesticide waste disposal program. Unwanted and unusable pesticides expired. We work with the Forest Service a lot, BLM, homeowners, the people right now. It's a lot of people moving moving away, or we have it's growing pretty rapidly here in Nevada. So people are moving around, cleaning out their storage units or garages, and they run into pesticides that they bought, they forgot they had. So that's the norm, and those add up pretty quickly. And so we want to get the word out with our successful program to make sure people aren't just dumping that stuff down the drain or just throwing it in the trash. You know, we'll take it free of charge. We want to make it convenient too. You can just drop off at our office, or if they're in a rural area, we're out and about doing inspections, we can also pick these up. So definitely work with homeowner and industry on making sure these are safely disposed. Okay. Pesticide waste disposal program. Again, pesticides, that's the umbrella term, includes insecticides, fungicides, herbicides, rodent baits, other pesticides. And we do not take batteries, motor oil, antifreeze, paint, degreaser, stuff like that. So that's just an example of what we take and what we're not allowed to hold for proper disposal at a later time. So I think, I don't know, open it for questions. Felicia, if